So I met this gentleman a year ago.
He only works with Fortune 50 companies. So the top 50 companies in America, he only books speakers for those. He said, Jeremy, I've never heard of occupational integrity. He was like, this message, this framework is needed. How many other CEOs, how many other team leads need their team and their organization to operate with occupational integrity? And that's where it was birthed. And so that's when I got with you and the team, and we kind of built out the framework around it. First question is, do you do your job efficiently and effectively without anybody having to watch you?
And that's kind of like the next level cultural wave.
Absolutely.
We really encourage people not to just do their job, but do it at a level of excellence that we want to get the bottom line, not just because of our job, because we want to empower the vision that you have. So what's the second question that you have people to ask when it comes to occupational integrity?
So the next level, you got to go deeper, right? Is do you do your job not without somebody having to watch you, but do you do your job at the highest level without somebody having to watch you or monitor you? It's one thing to do your job efficiently and effectively. Like, hey, I hit my quota, I did my numbers, I did my 8-9 hours, I got the proposal, but did I give it my best? Did I operate at the highest level? And that's what a lot of times people don't always see. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, am I to a point now where it's like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to get the job done at the highest level, right? I want to shout out some people within our organization. I think about Sophie. Y'all give it up for Sophie, right?
Give it up for Sophie, man.
So when we talk about occupational integrity, I remember she asked for like Monday, Tuesday off, something like that a few weeks ago because she was doing some personal things, working on her book or whatever. So, we gave her that time off. So I hit her on Monday. And I was like, hey, Sophie, like, how was the weekend? I know you working on your project. I know you got some personal time. You asked for these days off. How was your weekend? She was like, it was productive. I said, productive? Like, what you mean it was productive? She was like, oh, yeah, well, I got work done. I did like 5-6 hours on Saturday, a lot of emails, a lot of follow-up. I did 4 or 5 hours on Sunday. I was like, but why'd you do that? She was like, because I'm taking Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday off. I said, but you took off. We granted you permission. You didn't have to work. She was like, well, you gave me permission to be off of work, but you didn't give me permission for my department to fail. You feel me? Like I'm the program coordinator. So she was like, though you gave me, you let me step down and drop down from being at work those days, but you don't want my program, the event, to drop down. So she's like, this is the big event to come up.
Come on.
And so what really captured my attention is she could have been like, hey guys, I know we got this mastermind coming up in a couple of weeks or next week or so, but hey, I needed that time off for me. But she was like, no, not only am I going to ask for that time off, but I'm still going on the back end, get the work done. And nobody knew. And I didn't ask her. So it ain't like she was like, hey guys, I'm going to take Monday and Tuesday off, but don't worry, I'll still have normal office hours Saturday and Sunday. She just did the job. So that's the type of energy. So you got to ask yourself the second question to occupational integrity: do you do your job at the highest level without anybody having to watch you, monitor you, or oversee you?
And one of the things I love about this concept, occupational integrity, people kind of always go to the job. They go to the workforce. But one of the things you highlight in this is that it's more holistic. And can you highlight some of those areas and some of the examples that you provide in your own life about how you do certain things, that you occupy certain spaces, not just as a leader and speaker, but the other spaces you occupy, and what does that excellence even look like for people?
So let me give them the third question.
Yeah.
And because it's layered.
Yeah.
The third question you got to ask yourself is, do I do my job efficiently and effectively at the highest level without anybody having to watch me, without needing praise, credit, or accolades? That's different. There are some people that thrive. There are some people that show up and show out. And as long as they get that pat on the back, as long as they get that recognition, as long as they get that award, that's what they thrive off of. So the next layer to occupational integrity is, do you do your job efficiently and effectively at the highest level without anybody having to watch or monitor you, and you're not motivated by the praise, the credit, the accolades? So the question you have to ask yourself now is my performance tied to the praise? Because a lot of times people's performance is tied to the recognition. And I'm not saying people shouldn't be recognized for the work that they do.
Yeah.
But it's a different type of spirit when you say, you know what, I've got peace on the inside. Like, I don't need nobody else. I know how amazing I am. I don't need anybody else to acknowledge me. It would be great, but I'm not going to now harden my heart to step back, and now I'm not going to do the best job I could do because they don't recognize me and they don't appreciate me. I hear that often in corporate America. It's like, okay, I get it. You should be recognized. You should be appreciated, but I feel like it's fundamentally problematic when people say, I could give more, but I'm not going to give more because you don't recognize me. It's a special type of individual that says, I'm going to show up and do what I'm supposed to do, whether you praise me or not, because that's who I am. So I think about another one of our next level team members, Deani. I remember I was working with one of our clients, and we had a deadline to get some things done to him. And I was like, Deani, we can't drop the ball. She's like, trust me, I got it. And, you know, our biggest thing is under-promise and over-delivering everything we do. So I said, well, you know, let me know if you're having any issues. I'll call the client if we need to push it back. She's like, no, we'll be on time. Comes through. It's phenomenal. I'm looking at the website. I'm looking at all the stuff. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I was so impressed. And I remember telling Deani, like, yo, tell the team that did this, great job. She was like, I'll pass the word over to them. Then we have a team meeting. And I'm like, hey, team, I saw the work that y'all did. Great job. I'm so proud of y'all. They were like, thank you. I found out a month later, it was Deani that did the work. She didn't need no praise. She didn't need no credit. She didn't need no recognition. So I was like, why you ain't tell me? She was like, hey, we just get the job done. That's what it's about. That's occupational integrity. Operating at the highest level, efficiently and effectively, without getting recognition, without having to be monitored. You just be who you are because that's who you are. Like, I think about our country, like we often say, we live in the land of the free because of the brave. Like, I think about the special ops teams. I think about Delta Force. I think about SEAL Team 6. We don't know how many times they stopped us from a terrorist attack going on. We don't know how many times they stopped another plane from going into a building. We don't know all the different work the FBI is doing on the back, all the times they saved the day. We just at the parade, we at the festival having a great time. We have no clue that there was a terrorist about. They go in. We have no clue the 50 people that they went and rescued and whose lives, you know what I'm saying, that they were able to save. And they ain't get no recognition. And a lot of times, if they do lose their lives, their name ain't even put up on the wall. It's just a star. But they still show up every single day. They still say, but this is who I am. This is what I signed up for. I didn't say I'm going to be a Navy SEAL or a SEALs Team 6 to get an award and be celebrated. I showed up because I'm needed. I showed up because they're depending on me. Are you dependable day in and day out with the work that you do?
So those four things again, those questions you got to ask yourself.
The first one is, do you do your job efficiently and effectively without being watched? Do you do your job at the highest level without being watched? Do you do your job at the highest level without being watched? And you don't need praise, credit, and recognition. And the last one is, do you do it in the midst of challenges? Can you do it in the midst of adversity? There are some people that operate at a very high level. Many of you in the audience are probably saying, yep, I do my job efficiently and effectively. I operate at the highest level. I don't need nobody watching over me. I don't need no praise and recognition. I get it done. But what happening when your world is crumbling around you? There are some people that only thrive when the situations are perfect. But can you soar like an eagle through the storm?
Come on.
That's the question we have to ask ourselves. And I also want to be empathetic for those that go through challenges, because sometimes the weight of what we're dealing with does not allow us to operate at 100%. We're not asking for you to be perfect, but we are asking for a perfect effort. So in the midst of that storm, in the midst of the adversity, you might not be able to give 100%, but your 70% that you can bring to the table, your 60% that you can bring to the table, that's all that you have within you. That's occupational integrity.
Wow. Come on, give a round of applause. Wow. So for some of us, though, the frame of reference of excellence in these spaces, in these roles, in these spaces that we occupy, we don't really, some of us struggle with that. Like, what does it look like to be excellent in certain spaces that you occupy?
So the biggest misconception, and so let me also say this. I met with a gentleman, and he books speakers for the last 30 years. He only works with Fortune 50 companies. So the top 50 companies in America, he only books speakers for those. He said, Jeremy, I've never heard of occupational integrity. He was like, this message, this framework is needed. And this is before he even realized it was even outside of work, because a lot of people hear occupational integrity and they think, okay, operating with integrity, you know what I'm saying, within your occupation. No. This is operating with excellence and integrity in all the spaces and roles you occupy.
Come on.
See, we are not human doers. We're human beings. So you go from knowing to doing to being. So this framework is one that says, okay, how do you be the best person?
Yes.
I can't tell you how many high-level C-suite executives I've met with over the years, how many teacher of the years I've met with, how many sales teams, number one sales team reps I've met with that says, yep, I give my company, my boss, my organization the best and my family the rest. A lot of high-level, high-successful, high-functioning people, it's like they excel at work, but can you excel at home?
Come on.
My good friend Inky Johnson often says you don't want to be a public success, but a private failure. I've literally sat back and seen speakers speak, and then their wives are in the audience or their husbands are in the audience, and they looking like you don't live by that. So the question now is that same spirit of excellence. If those of you all in the audience, you check off like, yep, I do my job at the highest level, efficiently and effectively. I don't need credit. I don't need praise. Nobody has to micromanage me, and I do it in the midst of challenges. Do you put that same energy at home?
Come on.
And so that is probably one of the biggest flexes I have. It's not the books I've written. It's not the stages I've been on. It's not the revenue we've generated. Like my biggest flex is as I've been building all of these companies and businesses and organizations across the globe, here in America and in South Africa, I was also doing that while I was fighting to be the best husband and father I could be.
And can we just acknowledge a couple of things? One, man, you as a husband, you give the men in your life the husband report card. You know what I mean? You got two incredible things that it's hard to process sometimes. One, you talk about the occupation of being a husband that you say, look, I don't want to think about myself for 9 months when my wife is going through what she was going through. Right. Can you highlight that? And then where did this husband report card that you came up with, that you even branded with Next Level, like where did those, like how did that come to be, to get to be the excellent in that space?
Yeah, so, I want to be the best in every aspect of life. And I have a hard time, which is a good thing, I have a hard time compartmentalizing. So fundamentally in my core, I have a hard time saying I'm going to dominate in this space, but I don't care about this space. I care about all of them equally. And so, years ago when Tracy got really sick and she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, endometriosis, adenomyosis, we lost 2 babies back to back. She was dealing with depression because her mom, her dad, her aunt, and her grandmother all passed within like a 2-year span. It was like a dark cloud over our home. And the very act of intimacy was even painful for her. And so I just got to a point where I was like, you know what, I've got to be strong enough, long enough to get a breakthrough. And so at that moment, I said, you know what, I'm going to go through a 9-month. I didn't plan for it to be 9 months. I was like, I'm just going to go through a fast because you're hurting right now. And I'm going to find other ways to, to connect with you because I know on the inside, like your body is failing. Wow. And so when we talk about occupational integrity, that was my attempts. And I'm not perfect. I'm a flawed human like everybody else. But that was my attempts to say, okay, how can I be for you what you need me to be and release you of those expectations and just handle my business and still do that while I keep clean eyes and I'm not on any websites at night. And I begin to honor my body. I was like, I'm not going to take matters into my own hands.
Come on.
And so that was probably one of the biggest things I had to endure because I didn't want to operate at this high level in all my businesses, but not give that same energy to my household.
Come on, give a round of applause for that, man. Wow. So I do want to talk about that report card though, like, because people be in a space where we occupy such a sacred space like being a spouse, right? Being a husband, you make that commitment because you see the condition that your spouse is dealing with, that you want to support them. But the report card is just like you want to be the best version of you.
Right.
Like, talk about where that came from.
Well, so it's weird. How do I say it? As I was looking at my marriage, I was just like, I felt like, okay, I feel like I'm a really, really, really good husband, right? Like, not perfect, but like, I'm in the 1% of the 1%
Preach,
when
preacher.
it comes to husbands. Like, I really had that energy. And so I was just like, but the results on the back end, it wasn't adding up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like somebody being a multimillionaire, but you can't go and get a loan from a bank. It's just like, but if you got this, you got that. And so I was like, maybe I got some gaps within me, right? CJ often talks about it. The biggest thing people struggle with is the inability to self-assess. And so I said, okay, I feel like I'm really nice. Everybody's telling me I'm nice. Let me just see how nice I am. So I put together the next level marriage report card, 20 questions where you can rate between 1 and 10 to kind of see where you are. And I printed it up. I had a design. I had my own graphic team. The same energy I put into my business and my companies and corporate proposals, I put that same energy into our marriage report card. And I gave it to my wife. And I said, I want you to fill it out. And then I didn't say in return, and I want you to do one for, I'm going to do you. I was like, no, if you ask me.
Come on.
But this ain't even about, are we great husbands? It's like, no, and wives, am I? I just put the focus on me. And so I had her, rate me, and then I began to share that with other close friends who were ready to grow as well.
Yeah, give it up for that, man. Wow, that's crazy. But thank you. Thank you for being the example. I want to highlight this, too, as a father, man. He throws the best birthday parties in human history. That's first and foremost for his children. But one of the things you did recently, man, you got your daughter to be a published author.
Yeah.
And I saw schools booking the books, like, for their whole class. Shout out to Edward. His school booked it in Wisconsin, like, about her trip in South Africa. You took your kids to South Africa. You took, like, what inspired you to actually, people have ideas, right, even as parents, but you actually got it done. And Julie's 11th birthday party, or 12th birthday party, the 10th birthday party, she was a published author. Talk about what led you to do that and some of the work you do with your children.
So, when we look at occupational integrity, I occupy the space as a father. So I want to be the best father I can be. So I told Tracy, I want Jewel to travel with me at least once a month. You know what I'm saying? And she's going to travel exactly how I travel. And we check her out of school, and the principal already knows what I do for a living, so they're good with it. So I want her to have that experience. And so, we take an annual trip every year to South Africa, and we're there in Cape Town. We always have a really big villa right on the coast. The sunset's beautiful. I just need that water in my life, you know what I'm saying? But while we were there, my daughter got to play with, walk with elephants and feed elephants, right? And play with monkeys and feed exotic monkeys at a monkey sanctuary, and got to play with baby lions. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were swimming with sharks. Like, we really had a real adventure there. And so she wrote the book. I said, baby girl, how about you write the book? Because other kids would be inspired. I just want to be the best dad, bro. It's one thing to pay the bills and help them get in private school and all of that, but it's like that next level, I want to empower Jewel, right? Because I know she's got some greatness inside of her. So now I'm going to make you a published author. You're going to write the book. I'm going to get it edited. I'm going to find the best doggone illustrator I can find, and we're going to print you a real hardback book, create you a whole website and everything. So as opposed to she had a Paris trip, a Paris birthday party, all that stuff is cool. But that birthday party, we throwing you a book signing. The other space that you occupy when we think about occupational integrity is you occupy your body. So do we operate with integrity and excellence when it comes to our body? Self-care, temple care. Are you drinking enough water? The more water you drink, it purifies your blood. You got better blood flowing through your brain. You're naturally sharper. Are you eating right? Are you eating kind of healthy? Maybe you swap out some fried for some grilled. Maybe you opt out on the pork chops. Maybe you cut back on the sweets, right? Are you exercising? Do you set boundaries? I'm big on mental health. I literally lost a close friend of mine I went to college with, a very close friend of mine. I've known him for over 20 years. And he ended up passing recently, and he had a psychotic breakdown. And he was big in the real estate development space. So it's like you occupy this space as a human. You occupy your body. So the next question is, are you taking care of your heart? Are you taking care of your mind? Are you taking care of your temple? Are you exercising? When you wake up in the morning, do you just go right to work or right to the report or right to the kids? Or do you carve out 30 minutes where you can read and you can meditate or pray or work out or whatever you do to make sure that you're your best? That way you have the bandwidth. So people say, Jeremy, how are you waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning? Well, I go to sleep by 9, 10 o'clock the latest. Oh, you ain't see the game? I want to see the game. I want to see LeBron and all of his greatness, but I'm still chasing mine. So I have to have that integrity internally, because I ain't going to be no good for you, bro. You deserve for me to be the best brother, the best leader. The same for Nick, the same for Jess. And so for me, I realized I've got to make sure I'm in my best position so I can give my best to my team. And everybody's been saying, man, Jeremy, your team, your organizations, they're so amazing. And I realized that. But there's another level that they're going to go to as I go to that next level. So I'm intentional about making sure I take care of the team that I've been blessed and trusted to have so we can all experience that next level living. So I realized from where I've come from, what got me here is not going to take me there. So I got to do something different to make sure I'm the best version of myself. So I'm really big in making sure I'm the best because Deani need me to be the best. Don and Jerry need me to be the best. Devon need me to be the best. Sharice needs me to be the best. Kevin. So I'm like, man, what do I got to do to make sure I'm in the best position? So I'm bringing my best to the table. And then I believe when my team sees me challenge myself, they're automatically going to challenge themselves. So I believe occupational integrity starts from the top and flows down.
Love it. Give a round of applause. And I want to close out with this, Jeremy. As you bring this to the marketplace, occupational integrity, and we see this, we're going to get a chance to process this, and you're going to break this down for us even more so. How does this ripple effect of occupational integrity, of us embracing this and operating in this occupational integrity, what is the ripple effect for us in that space?
Man, I would say the ripple effect can be profound. It can be abundance. It can be overflow. It can be impact. It can be lives changed, right? When I look at the occupational integrity and the ripple effect of it, I look at my children, I look at my family, I look at the 60 kids, our foundation, Next Level Living Incorporated in South Africa. We got 60 kids that's in college right now that would not be in college if it wasn't for our foundation. We feed 1,000 young children every single week in South Africa. So when I think about the ripple effect, I got a friend of mine that has a foundation that helps rescue women from the sex trafficking industry. So now the overflow, the ripple effect is when she calls me and says, hey, we just rescued a young girl. She needs a month-long lodging and housing, and she needs somebody to take care of her counseling and her medication. And I'm like, okay, send the invoice to me. So the occupational integrity, the ripple effect is the impact that I'm now able to make out here in the world. It's like one drop just slowly makes more and more ripples. So those listening need to ask themselves, man, if I'm the best version of me, if I'm bringing the best version of me to the table every single day, I show up, I do what I'm supposed to do, and if I get the praise and credit and the accolades, okay, great. But if I don't, I'm not going to let that compromise my performance because I'm not getting the praise. And I do all of that in the midst of challenges, and the same energy I give at work and at school, I'm going to give that same energy at home with my family. Man, we're going to go from one level to the next level and look up, and they'll be living life at the top.
Man, give it up again for Mr. Jeremy Anderson.